If you guys are new to this build, we are basically rebuilding a 1941 Willys MB in the year 2025. A few weeks ago, we went to Joe at Locked and Loaded 4x4, and himself and Alex helped us fabricate both the front and the rear steel bumpers. Now we got them built, and then we got a whole other pallet of parts delivered. But today we've got a lot to unpack. We're gonna reassemble our 2025 41 build. Our Jeep has kind of been sitting on jack stands for about 3 weeks up until this point. There is definitely a lot to do off camera when you're doing a build of this style, and we had to do a lot of test fitting, a lot of trial and error, and then a lot of finish work before we could get the final product that we've got today. We kind of kept the fender flares and what we were doing to this Jeep a little bit of a secret. I hope by now the cat's out of the bag. Let's tell you what we went with. So on the fender flares, we went with a standard moto-built fender flare, both the front and the rear. They are their Crusher series fender flares. They're not the high lines like mine. So mine are about 2 inches higher than these and even more narrow. The Crusher fenders on the JL are a great version because it gives us a little bit more tire coverage. On the rear, we probably have about 4 to 4.5 inches of tire coverage. Same way up front, and it doesn't stick up as high. We wanted more of a flat fender look, and I'll be honest, the closest one we could find to an original like Willys MB would have been an MCE fender flare, but they don't make them at all for a JL. This really does match kind of that bent look that the original Willys MB look had, and then going along the side and flowing down. So we decided to order those. We got them in steel, and then we also matched them up with a set of the moto-built aluminum inner fenders. So before we did all the powder coating, all this other fun stuff, I test fit everything. So the fenders were installed, the inner fenders were installed, everything was test fit in raw finish. That's a crucial step for any of this. We didn't really show much of it because it's very similar to what we did with mine. A lot of cutting, a lot of grinding, some welding, some really nice paint touch-up work, but you want to test fit everything before you drop it off. That way when you get it back and it's a beautifully finished piece, you're not fighting it and scratching up the entire piece. Here they are, guys, our 4 fender flares for our 41 build, freshly back from powder coat. What we chose to do, we did actually the same powder coat on all the things that we've got behind us. We did a satin black powder coat. Now, the reason being for that is we did a lot of back and forth. What are we gonna match these? Are we gonna leave them black? Do we paint them completely green to match the Jeep? What are we gonna do? Well, the first thing is we wanted to make sure that these are durable. So they were completely powder coated in a nice satin black by our local shop, completely back from powder coat. And what we decided to do is we're gonna paint match the tops and the outer edges of these in the 41 color. Now we're not gonna send them down to Brian at Distinction Applied, even though we would love that because we know these are gonna get chipped up on the road. So we actually went to our local store, and we're gonna go show you this solution here as soon as I pour some out into our paint can there, exactly what we're gonna do to these, as well as the front bumpers laying there. This is gonna be a fun day, and we got the heaters on, we got the mini splits running, we got another heater because we wanna make sure these cure really nicely, but these are gonna look really cool. But yeah, satin black, I figure that's gonna match the frame and the other black accents on the Jeep really well. And then we have inner fenders done too, so we'll install those, but we wanna get these painted first. So why don't we get out some paint? So we got our little paint roller, we got our micro paint dish, got 2 rollers here made for the type of paint, Lebanon paint and wallpaper. That's where we went. But here's the custom paint that we got in here. He got us a quart. It's a little bit cold right now. It should be okay, but we're gonna undo that, pop some out and put it into this here, and we'll start doing the fender flares, but I'm gonna do it right here on the ground first. And it's a high gloss too, so when it dries, it'll have a lot of sheen, just like the factory gloss. Isn't that cool? Yeah, and that was only, I wanna say that was 30 bucks for a quart of that. So 30 bucks, roll it on with a roller, see how badly we mess it up. No, I'm just kidding. So we're doing this on the bumpers, we're doing this everywhere. When we get rock chips, inevitably, which we will, I guarantee you it's gonna happen, we have paint. Like, all you gotta do is grab a little brush and touch it up. You know, it's not like, oh shoot, we just had this professionally painted, coated, now we gotta strip it down, take the clear coat off. Like, nah, there's no point to that. Plus, it's like, how close can we get it? It looks so cool. So we're gonna stir it up a little bit here. So this is exterior grade metal paint. Stuff is thick. Pour a little bit in, because honestly a little bit of this stuff goes a long way, a very long way. I want to, like, the one thing with this is I just want to make sure I don't over roll it and have like splatters all over the place. So why don't we take this over. Gonna do 2 coats. So doesn't matter if the first coat's a little bit thin. I don't know. There is a limit of like how much you can do as color matched. but I think this is gonna be just a perfect amount. Mind you, this is just the first coat, so it'll be a little bit lighter on here. And we're gonna do the outside edge. It's so cool to be able to use local resources like this too. You know what I mean? Like, because we're always going into local places. We're like, yeah, we've got the most interesting thing you're gonna hear all day. And they're like, all right, shoot, what is it? You know? Yeah. And it's just cool to have like that local support of like, yeah, that's awesome. And I show them pictures of the Jeep and I was like, here's what we're going for. And yeah, there's first coat. Hopefully people steal this idea and are like, I'm gonna get moto built fenders. Now, the one thing the paint guy said, if you're doing a color like my Jeep, like bikini, can't match it. This is a flat color, no flake in it. Yeah. So you can match this with this exterior grade paint, but on a bikini or something like that, yeah, good luck. And I know Tyler, the JL Adventure, he actually messaged when we posted the Instagram story and was like, man, with the roller, guys? And I was like, yeah, we're your good old boys in PA. We're painting these brand new parts with a paint roller like we're old school. But they matched the color. And what we decided to do was paint the exterior of the front bumper, exterior of the rear bumper in the 41 green that we had matched. Yeah, so thought process on this was just to leave the tire carrier black. So we're gonna leave this black too. Just a little bit of tape off. I mean, not like you're gonna see it like crazy. But yeah, leave the tire carrier black just for durability over the years. And then also we're not spraying this stuff on, so I don't know. It would just, it adds another complex element to it. We're gonna grab a little paintbrush and I'll touch up. I think we ought to do these. I think they need, yep. Yeah, they gotta do it. That's how an executive decision is made. Everything else is satin black. So when you install it all, the inner fenders, the inside of the fender flares, the inside of the front and rear bumpers, they are all satin black to kind of just flow right into the frame, the suspension, and all the other black components. So we got the inner fenders installed here. These are the same ones that Ryan has on his, the Motobuilt inner fenders. They're the two-piece. Obviously, we did all the pre-install before we got them powder coated, so that way we had all the rib nuts and everything ready to go. But the goal with this, we could have left these bare aluminum or tried to do them green and work the way down through. We wanted this to kind of just flow right into the suspension, the frame, and all that. So we tried to get it the same color as the frame, and this frame is kind of dirty right now too, so it is very, very close to that. But just to flow downwards and not be too, I don't know, obnoxious in there. We could have tried to do, oh yeah, let's make this green, that green, the frame green, the suspension green. We're not gonna get that far. I like this look, so we got the fronts in. The other thing I gotta do is I gotta rip apart the factory turn signals and just run the wires to the new marker lights and turn signals on the new fenders. But yeah, the fronts are on, satin black. We never did them in black before. Mine are in aluminum, yours are in aluminum. It looks clean, you don't even notice it. You know, besides you just see the little stainless steel button heads there. But yeah, I gotta put on the rear fenders now and then put another coat on the bumpers and the fenders. So all of that done, right? We got coats of it on here. I was using sockets and different things to actually prop the fender flares up. Then it was time to get them installed. And that's where the entire vision really, I would say, came to life. Getting these fender flares all painted, all prepped. The paint is extremely durable, tough stuff. I couldn't even scratch it off. We had to do one last little thing, and I didn't even show Ryan what we did, but this will make more sense in the future. But Motobuilt includes two-piece vents to go on the side, and we did those in a color that probably you wouldn't even expect. We had them powder coated in black, but I did white with a gloss red outer piece. So we put those on and it's a two-tone white with a gloss red. And as we get further, maybe we'll see some of the decals today, Ryan, why that makes sense. But once this build is done, those exact color scheme colors will make perfect sense. But putting it all on, we didn't really run into too many issues. I custom cut and remade the harnesses for the front turn signal because you use 3/4 little light harnesses on there. Got that installed and then put all the fender flares on. And I would say just the immediate reaction of seeing them all on and seeing them right next to the body and how close the paint was. Bro, the color's perfect. I am so happy the color matches. This is rolled on. Like from the side here, it looks the same. I know some people are gonna say the front tire pokes too much, but in reality, we couldn't make a fender that was 12 inches wide to go out there unless we super custom fab this, and I really just don't think it would have looked right. This, in our eyes, is the perfect setup when it comes to the fender flares, and we're so excited that we were able to use those and get them installed. That local shop nailed the color for us, but Yeah, I think it's going to look insane. What we're about to do now is put on the wheels and tires, and then we got to pull it out and clean it up a little bit too, because this thing is like so salty. But all right, well, got all the tires on, and now obviously I know what you guys are saying. The wheel poke is insane on this. The fenders on an original Jeep were not that wide. They didn't come out very far, and also these tucked in way further. But the problem is they don't really make wheels like this that we could have had custom painted that would have matched this. We do have to tuck that wire up there for the front lights, but those look pretty slick turned on there too. A nice little accent light, and then those are our turn signals too. So if I turn on the 4-ways in here, should flash. So now we got everything kind of set up. I think it's time to put the front bumper on. Guys, we ordered a blackout light from an original World War II Jeep. This is made by Taillight, and it is made in the USA. So it is wired up too. Maybe I'll have to turn on the Jeep. It's pretty dull, like it doesn't light up too bright. I think I still have to swap the bulb out for a 12 volt instead of a 24 volt, or maybe it's a 6 volt bulb. Actually, it's a 6 volt bulb for those old Jeeps. So I have to swap that out, but yeah, that's what that is a blackout light. A lot of people asked it. A lot of people knew it, so kudos to those that knew what it was, but we figured here was a good spot. The fenders didn't give enough for real estate. That's where they originally would have been. They would have been right here, but not enough real estate to mount the bracket, and then that's a lot going on over there, but yeah, these look good. Now, bumpers, that was another deal. So the back bumper, what we decided to do, we'll start with that. Everyone was asking about the license plate lights. We got little bolt lights. So that's a temporary fix. They should last for a while, but they're just little bolt lights that you wire in. We use the taillight harness that we have available on the website too to tie in and get a running light on that. Those look clean, they work, and they make sure that our license plate is now lit up. The back bumper was all flush. We did that in 41, and we left the tire carrier as well as the catch for the tire carrier in black, as well as the actual hitch mount for the tire carrier. So that's all just the satin black. And then one last thing is we added on a hitch stabilizer, so that actually screws in inside the hitch, and that really made a difference with any sort of little bit of movement that we had. It's an anti-rattle hitch pin from CRED, so we're gonna put this, yeah, so that'll go in here. And then this is supposed to fit in there, but it won't, because this hitch, our tube is different, but this will at least connect this side. What it does, so that goes inside there. You're supposed to be able to use that, but we won't be able to. This goes in, and then this actually threads in. And what that does is it since there's a nut in there, it kind of pulls the whole hitch towards it. So see that? So I gotta get that snugged up. You still get a pin for the other side. Now we're gonna cinch that down. Oh! Yeah, look at that, right? Back bumper was completely assembled. Roto packs are on. We now have 2 hitch receivers. And then the front bumper, we got that all the way installed, completely flush up front. You guys might have seen the Groove Fair Lead from Yankum Ropes, a brand new product that we have been able to check out on the channel, and this thing is extremely beefy. We got that on there and then spooled the winch line up under load on my Jeep last night. But I think that's pretty much everything that we did. It was really cool to see it actually come off of jack stands, because after it sits for a long time on jack stands, you guys that have project Jeeps, you know how that goes. You want to just see the dang thing move. And I think without further ado, it's time to walk outside and show you what this Jeep really looks like. All right, guys, today's here are the videos. Don't get at me if it's hard to get through. So this is from a fan, Patrick, and so his father was Sergeant Joseph Boyer in the 90th Infantry Division, 315th Medical Battalion. So he was part of the Tough Hombres. His unit division landed on Utah Beach, fought in Normandy, Ardennes, Saar region, and the Rhineland. Part of the Battle of the Bulge. I mean, just incredible experience. He said his father never really talked about it. So you can kind of tell when some of these guys have really been through stuff because they didn't talk about it. So his father, incredible veteran, but his uncle Harold, younger brother, was part of the 760th Tank Battalion. He died in late February of 1944 in Italy at the Battle of Cassino. He never got to make it home. So in his story, he kind of talked about both his father and his uncle never left the small town of LaGrange, Missouri. They had never been outside their farm and the farm town that they lived in. And for both of them to go overseas to fight, and then his uncle never to make it home, this is what this build is all about. So Patrick, thank you for sending us this in. It's kind of It's hard for me to read it here in person, but this is an incredible story. And, you know, we would love to honor that. He even talked about maybe putting some GPS coordinates of LaGrange, Missouri on there. We're going to get those coordinates, and they are going to be on this build. And that's to honor your dad and your uncle. So thank you so much for submitting this. If you guys have a hero that you would like us to honor, please send it in, and we would love to share it on our channel. What do you guys think of this Jeep? I cannot express how awesome it turned out. When you see everything like this together in the sun with all the little accents as you walk around it. A gentleman that was actually an Army veteran came up and checked it out while we were at the park here, and he absolutely loved it. So really cool to see just the first public reaction to this as well. But the detail in this Jeep, that's what we're trying to harp on, is just how much we've put into this to make it look the way it does. Now, everything we've got going on, it's all installed. And Ryan and I were just discussing off camera. I know it looks like a ton is done to this Jeep, but still no lift and some pretty friendly parts on here. I think we got a little bit of a discount on the Moto-Built fenders, but we got these installed. We got the wheels and tires. Super happy with how everything turns out. I might touch up just a couple little things in paint. Like I was looking at this, just some of the edges I got a little bit over on here. I might touch up some of those. The cool thing about using the paint that we did is I can just go around and touch up anything. So when Ryan hits, like Starbucks curbs are really, like they have the big poles out there. When he hits this, I'll be able to just touch it up. Honestly, what do you think would happen if we hit something with this bumper? I think it's just gonna push the damn tree down or push the pole over. Yeah. Like it is, it's so sturdy up here. So the reason we chose this color is it is synonymous with the medical portions of not only the military and wars, but you look at the Red Cross, you look at first aid kits, the red and gloss white is significant color scheme when it comes to that. So that's why we tied it into here, and it will make a ton of sense once we have all the decals installed, because we have a lot of them that are missing all over here. Now, I'm okay at putting on decals, but I am not that good at all. So I've got a great local friend. We're gonna be doing some decals, and you guys are gonna wanna stay tuned for all of the decals that go into this, because we're probably gonna do a full-length video installing that and just showing some of the process and the history. Walking around back, rear fenders turned out phenomenal, especially with the inside being black. It just kind of gets lost in there. The one thing I did tell to Ryan, we might try and paint match the roto packs, but I might have to get like a plastic paint and sand these down a little bit. It might be tricky, but it's not the exact same color, so something that, we didn't really like as much. Give us your opinions down below. What should we do for a rear view camera? Because we have had a part on order. What's it going on, 3 months? Yeah. Just for a little camera relocation that we thought would work great, but if it's not gonna come in, it's not gonna come in. One other person suggested we get a Gladiator rear camera bezel because it sits on the tailgate flush, and maybe just like drill a small hole right here and have the exterior of the housing matched in 41. So then it would just be over there, still tie in. I have the extension cord and all that. Let us know if you think that would look cool. I'm just so impressed how well the paint matches. I mean, a lot of people were just, I can't believe you're using a roller to do that. But if you do things, you take your time and you have a nice heated shop, you can get this stuff done. We're just doing this stuff, 2 guys in the shop, and my dad comes out and look at the results. You know, I think that's a great way. If you guys are gonna get fenders powder coated and you've got a flat color like this, you can roll it on. Go to your local shop like that and see if they can paint match you some exterior metal grade, and then you can always touch it up. So you guys go out wheel, you get scratches on it, you get it dented up, you can just touch it up with a little paintbrush or sand it down to your needs. But let us know down below in the comments what you guys think of this Jeep and what should be our next step, because the next phase of this build, after we do some decals, is going to be the interior, and that's probably just going to be as custom as the outside. We've got a lot of cool parts stacking up, and then I shouldn't say that that's the next step, because yeah, we're going to do the interior, but we've also got some fun tidbits that are going to go underneath. And a tan top. If somebody can find one for a 2-door, my gosh, last ditch effort is to just buy the top and to buy like the windows, because you can actually just buy that material. But yeah, we want to get a tan top on here. Until next time though, we're going to run over to our good friend's house, get some decals installed, and go over some of the history of what we're putting on this Jeep. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, my name is Matt, Ryan's behind the camera, and we want you to get out there and earn yours.